The night my sister Avery abandoned her 3-month-old daughter on my doorstep, the storm wasn't the thing that shook me. It was my mother's voice slicing through the rain. "She's your responsibility now. Don't call us about this again." Avery didn't look at the baby. She didn't even look at me. She just walked back into the darkness like she'd been waiting for an excuse to disappear. But the part I still can't shake isn't her leaving. It's the headlights parked at the end of my street engine running aimed straight at us watching. Back then I thought my family had already broken me. I didn't know their worst betrayal hadn't even started. Before I go any further, tell me where you're watching from, and hit like and subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by your own family. Because what happened next didn't just change my life, it exposed secrets my family had buried for years. And trust me, you'll want to hear all of it. I grew up in a house where love wasn't given, it was earned, bargained for, and handed out in uneven doses. My parents, Evelyn and Thomas, never said Avery was their favorite, but they didn't have to. Every dinner made it obvious. I'd sit at the long oak table, the smell of pot roast filling the room, and watch my mother heap food onto Avery's plate while sliding mine over with a polite smile like she was doing me a favor. Avery basked in it. I learned to shrink. I remember one humid summer afternoon when I was 12. Cicadas screamed outside while the AC rattled like it was dying. I rushed home clutching a certificate I'd won a writing contest. For once, something was mine. My father glanced at it, muttered, "Good job," then turned immediately to Avery, who was twirling in the kitchen performing a dance she never practiced for. He grabbed his camera to take pictures of her stepping right past me like I was air. The ribbon crinkled in my hand. I didn't know it then, but those small cuts were carving something deep. By 16, I was working a part-time job at a grocery store, saving every spare dollar to help with bills. Avery found the envelope I kept hidden in my drawer. She didn't ask, she just used it for a beach trip with her friends. My mother praised her for taking initiative. That was the night I realized silence could bruise. Holidays were predictable in their cruelty. Every Christmas, Avery opened expensive gifts, jewelry, designer bags, things she hadn't earned. I got socks or planners, always with the same line, "You're the practical one, Maddie." The living room smelled like pine and cinnamon lights blinking softly around us, but I felt cold, like I'd been left outside looking in. When I turned 21, I moved into a small apartment near Mercy Hill Children's Hospital. I worked long shifts, beeping monitors, faint antiseptic, tired parents, whispering prayers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was peaceful. For the first time, I could breathe without competing. I didn't know it then, but that quiet apartment, those four walls, would become the shelter for a baby my own family would toss away like an inconvenience, and it would become the battleground for the biggest fight of my life. The night Avery came back into my life is a memory I can replay second by second. Rain hammered the windows so hard the glass itself seemed to tremble. I was folding warm scrubs on my couch, the TV humming softly in the background, when a violent pounding shook my door. It wasn't the kind of knock you ignore. It was desperate, frantic, almost panicked. When I opened it, Avery stood there, drenched mascara streaking down her cheeks like ink bleeding through paper. She didn't greet me. She didn't look me in the eyes. She just shoved a car seat into my arms with a whispered, "I can't do this." Inside the seat was a tiny baby girl, 3 months old. Cheeks flushed from the cold breath, quivering like she already sensed she'd been abandoned. My pulse spiked. "Avery, what happened?" But she backed away from me like I was the danger. Before I could say another word, my phone buzzed. My mother. Her voice was steady, chilling, practiced. "She's your responsibility now. Don't call us about this again." Then she hung up. I stood in the hallway, holding a child who wasn't mine, rain splashing onto my bare feet as Avery's heels clicked down the stairwell. She didn't glance back. The storm swallowed her whole. That's the last image I had of my sister for 10 years. The first 48 hours felt like drowning. Lily, because that was the name Avery left on a crumpled note, cried through the night, her fists trembling. I cried, too terrified I'd break her with one wrong move. I watched YouTube tutorials at 3 a.m. on how to warm formula, how to swaddle, how to not fall apart. At dawn, I shoved my hair into a messy bun, zipped Lily inside my jacket, and ran to the nearest convenience store. The sharp smell of cold air and burnt coffee hit me as I grabbed diapers formula, a pacifier, anything that might help. But somewhere between exhaustion and fear, something shifted. Routine turned into instinct. Instinct turned into love. Lily's first smile cracked something open in me. Her first mama at age 2 shattered me completely. What I didn't realize, what I couldn't have known, was that someone else had been watching us even then. Someone who wasn't done with Lily. Someone who wasn't done with me. And that quiet life I built, the one I thought was safe, was already being studied like a blueprint for the disaster that was coming. For almost 10 years, life with Lily was simple in the best way. Our apartment was small, our routines predictable, our world quiet. I'd work my shifts at Mercy Hill, pick her up after school, listen to her chatter about art projects and science club while she swung her legs at the kitchen table. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Safe. Solid. That safety cracked the day my phone rang with an unknown number. I almost ignored it. I wish I had. Maddie, it's me. Just hearing Avery's voice made something in my spine lock. She sounded calm, too calm. She talked about sobriety therapy, rebuilding, and wanting to meet her daughter, as if she hadn't disappeared into the night and left me holding a crying infant. Every line sounded rehearsed. I agreed to one meeting. 1. We met at the Children's Discovery Museum, bright, loud, public. Lily clung to my hand with a tension I hadn't felt since her nightmares years ago. Avery approached wearing soft makeup, hair neatly styled, moving slowly like she was performing vulnerability. "Hi, sweetheart," she whispered, kneeling in front of Lily. Lily shrank back. "My mom is Maddie." Avery's smile wobbled for a split second before she composed herself, blinking quickly like she rehearsed that reaction too. I wanted to believe her tears. I really did. But something felt off. Like she wasn't meeting her child. She was auditioning for a role she never earned. It didn't stop there. Within weeks, Avery's visits multiplied. Saturday mornings, Wednesday afternoons, random drop-ins with bags of expensive gifts. Lily didn't ask for designer sneakers. A tablet pen that cost more than my grocery budget, sparkly craft sets priced like luxury handbags. "This is too much," I told Avery once. She smiled sweetly. "It's just love, Maddie. Don't make everything so tense." But Lily didn't see love. She saw pressure. "Do I have to keep these?" she whispered one night, eyes uncertain. Then came the first real warning sign. While waiting in the school pickup line, I spotted Evelyn and Thomas standing on the sidewalk, smiling like they owned the place. They had never shown up for Lily. Not once. Yet there they were, speaking with her teacher, authoritatively. I got out of the car. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?" Evelyn gave me a thin smile. "Checking on our granddaughter," Thomas added. "You've kept her from us long enough." The accusation hit like a punch, public, humiliating, deliberate. Lily's eyes flicked between us, confused and afraid. That night, she whispered in bed, "Why do they act like you did something wrong?" I didn't have an answer. Because telling her the truth that my parents only cared when Avery told them to felt too cruel. A few days later, a small velvet box appeared at our door. Inside was a silver locket engraved with Lily's initials. She shook her head immediately. "I don't want it." My stomach dropped. The next morning, a message came from a number I didn't recognize, just a gift for the girl who might be ours someday. Grant Dalton, Avery's new husband, a man I had never met. The word ours chilled me. When I asked Avery, her tone cracked. "Grant can be intense, but he cares about Lily's future. Don't turn this into drama." I didn't know it yet, but the real drama, the kind you don't recover from, was already building underneath us. The shift from uncomfortable to terrifying happened on a Tuesday night. I woke up to Lily sitting upright in bed, knees pulled to her chest, shaking so hard the blankets rustled. Her cheeks were wet, her breathing sharp and panicked. "Mom," she whispered, "is someone taking me away soon?" My blood ran cold. "Why would you think that?" She swallowed, voice cracking. "Grandma was outside my window. She said I should come back to the real family." I felt the floor tilt. Our building was secured, multiple locked entrances, cameras, a key fob system. No one should have been anywhere near her window. But when I stepped into the hallway, the air felt wrong, heavy, watching. I checked the outside sill. Rain streaked the glass, but along the bottom rim was a faint smear of beige makeup. Evelyn's shade. The next morning, I drove straight to my parents' house. The lawn was perfect, the porch swing creaking in the breeze, a place that always looked peaceful from the outside, but never felt safe on the inside. Evelyn appeared on the stairs, arms crossed. "Breaking in now," she said. I knocked. I snapped. "What were you doing at my building last night?" She laughed, a cold, airy sound. "Don't be ridiculous. Lily heard you." Thomas stepped forward, tightening his robe. Kids imagine things. Something inside me tightened until it hurt. "Stay away from her," I said quietly. Evelyn leaned in, smile sharp. "Or what? You'll raise her alone forever." Her voice had always been cutting, but this was something darker. A threat dressed as concern. I left before I said something I couldn't take back, but they weren't done. 2 nights later, a folded sheet of paper slid under my apartment door. No envelope, no signature, just a printed bank notice. A massive overdue loan under Grant Dalton's name. I stared at the numbers. Why send this to me? And who? The next day at school pickup, I saw him, the man I'd spotted once before. Black sedan, crisp suit, too still, too aware. He wasn't watching the kids. He was watching my reaction. When our eyes met, he gave a single nod like he was confirming something. I pulled Lily closer and walked faster, but the breaking point came a week later. The school called. "Lily is in the guidance office, she's upset." I found her curled on a sofa, eyes red. "They said I might move soon," she whispered. "They said my mom and dad asked for my records." She didn't mean me. She meant Avery. And Grant. My hands shook all the way home. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep curled against me like she used to when she was little, I heard something slide under the front door. A thick envelope. Heavy, legal. My heart sank before I even touched it. Inside was a petition for custody, filed by Avery Morgan and Grant Dalton. My vision blurred. My ears rang. For a moment, the room felt too narrow to breathe in. At the bottom, in handwriting I knew too well, was a note. "It's time Lily comes home." Home. The word tasted like rust. In that moment, something in me clicked into place. Not panic, not fear. Resolve. Quiet. Cold. Final. They thought they were coming for a child. They had no idea they'd just declared war. The courthouse felt colder than any storm I'd ever stood in. Tall ceilings, gray walls, floors that echoed each footstep like a warning. I sat beside my attorney, Julia Hernandez, trying to keep my breathing steady while the sealed folder lay between us. That folder was the line between losing Lily and losing myself. When the doors opened, Avery walked in first. Pale blue dress, soft makeup, carefully curated innocence. Grant followed, posture stiff, eyes sharp, like he was already calculating the outcome. My parents trailed behind them, dressed like they were attending a church event instead of a custody battle they engineered. Judge Harriman entered. Silver hair, calm expression, voice like steel. "Let's begin." Avery took the stand first. "I was sick back then," she said, voice trembling. "But I got better. I've worked so hard to rebuild my life. I want my daughter back." Madison kept Lily from me. Her tears fell exactly where she wanted them to. Then came my parents. Evelyn inhaled dramatically. "We tried to stay involved. Madison shut us out," Thomas added. She isolated Lily from her own family. Not one mention of the years they ignored us, or the night Avery abandoned her child, or the call where my mother said Lily was my responsibility now. Grant testified last. "With Madison's unstable schedule, limited income, and lack of a two-parent home, Lily isn't getting the structure she needs," he said, smooth as glass. "My wife and I can give her the life she deserves." For a second, the judge's face didn't reveal anything, and fear clawed at my ribs. Julia squeezed my hand. "Your turn." I stood. My voice wavered for half a second, then steadied. Julia walked the judge through everything: Lily's report cards, therapy notes from Dr. Hayes, photos from birthdays, statements from neighbors and teachers, sleepless nights, panic attacks, school projects, stability, love. 10 years of being the only parent Lily had ever known. The opposing attorney pounced. "You rent your home. Yes. You're unmarried. Yes. You work nights, when Lily is asleep." His tone suggested that love could be measured on a financial spreadsheet. Then the judge leaned forward. "Ms. Clark, do you believe you've met this child's needs?" I met her eyes. "I've met every need she's ever had. Because I stayed. when no one else did. Silence hit the room like a dropped weight. Judge Harriman exhaled slowly. Does the respondent have additional evidence? Julia stood. Yes, Your Honor. She lifted the sealed folder. The room shifted, tension thickened. When the judge opened it, her expression changed, slow, unmistakable. First confusion, then disgust, then sharp, controlled anger. She looked at Avery. Mrs. Dalton, were you aware your husband has been contacting Lily's biological father, who recently inherited a substantial estate? Avery blinked. What? No. The judge turned to Grant. And you initiated that contact days before filing for custody. Grant's jaw tightened. Then she faced my parents. Why do your phone records show regular communication with Mrs. Dalton for 2 years, despite your sworn statements claiming otherwise? Evelyn paled. Thomas swayed. I do not tolerate perjury, the judge said, voice ice cold. Especially when a child is involved. She closed the folder. Ms. Clark, please stand. My legs shook as I rose. This court finds that Lily's best interests are met in your care. Custody remains solely with you. Avery gasped. Grant cursed under his breath. My parents looked like the floor had vanished beneath them. I didn't smile. I simply breathed for the first time in months. But deep down, I knew this wasn't peace. This was the moment the real war began. When the judge's gavel fell, the sound didn't feel like victory. It felt like a door slamming shut behind me and another one creaking open in front of me. People moved around the courtroom, shuffling papers, whispering, avoiding eye contact. I watched it like someone watching debris after a storm. Julia gathered our files, her voice gentle. You protected her, Madison. I nodded, but my chest still felt tight, like the danger hadn't left, just changed shape. Avery walked toward me slowly, mascara smudged eyes red. Maddie, I didn't know about Grant. I didn't know what he planned. I stepped back, not angry, just done. You had 10 years, I said quietly. And you only came back when there was money on the table. She flinched. Not because it was cruel, because it was true. Grant didn't speak as he was let out, but he shot me a look. Cold. Calculating. A look that promised this wasn't over. My parents hovered near the doors, unsure whether to apologize or defend themselves. Evelyn smoothed her coat fingers, trembling. We just wanted what's best for the family, she whispered. I met her eyes. No. You wanted control. Her face tightened with humiliation, the kind that doesn't go away. Outside, sunlight hit me hard. Warm, bright, almost unreal after weeks of tension. My phone buzzed with a message from Lily's art teacher, a picture of Lily beaming, holding a drawing of us. Just us. My throat burned. I thought that would be the last surprise of the day. It wasn't. As I approached my car, a man stepped out from behind a pillar, the same one I'd seen outside the school, outside the courthouse. Black suit, calm expression, eyes too observant. Ms. Clark, he said. I stiffened. Who are you? He pulled a card from his pocket. Daniel Reed, attorney. For who? He hesitated just long enough to make my stomach drop. Someone connected to Lily. Someone who's been looking for the truth for a long time. My pulse spiked. Connected how? Her biological father, he said quietly. Now that the custody case is resolved, he would like to meet. Wind pushed against my back like the world itself was shifting. I had no idea what this man wanted, no idea what story waited behind him, but one thing was certain. My family wasn't the only threat in this story, and whatever was coming next, they had just handed me the one weapon I needed. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, make sure you hit subscribe. Stories like mine don't end when the judge bangs the gavel, they just shift into a new kind of battle. Tell me in the comments if you've ever had to stand up for someone you love when nobody else would. And stay with me, because what's coming next about Avery, about Grant, and about the man claiming to be Lily's father is a story I never expected to tell. This isn't over, not even close.